Allegations. Something that in one form or another is quite common online nowadays. From someone in a CS game assuming your nationality or race with no proof, you haven't spoken in-game, you've only been using the text chat, and following these allegations of your assumed race or nationality, they then proceed to spam slurs directed towards said group. Or as we usually see online nowadays, allegations that are levied against a YouTuber, and when said allegations have a bit of weight to them, we will either get the best response disproving the claims or providing additional context that gives a whole new perspective to the situation, or we get an absolutely atrocious apology video with a musical instrument of sorts, with no accountability, and they will just stare intensely at the camera to the point where it looks like they are filming a video for their ransom, and maybe produce a few tears. There is no in-between with apology videos, it's either very good or you get added to the Hall of Fame of apology videos. But then there's the allegations that people launch against you with no evidence at all, saying you're a British fairy femboy, even though you've clarified multiple times you are only one of those things. And for the people that can't tell which one is the true statement, you must only know how to use Velcro shoes. But anyway, getting to the topic of today's video, recently allegations were launched against quite a large YouTuber on the platform, with some finding it ironic that it was someone that usually documents and creates videos surrounding other notable online personalities' allegations, and he's in fact one of the biggest YouTubers doing this type of content on the platform, and that person is Turkey Tom, who had some quite heinous allegations levied against him by former partners in the early weeks of January 2026. And these allegations involve things such as claims of abuse, manipulation, non-consensual recording, blackmail with said non-consensual recording, and even allegations of what Turkey Tom was potentially interested in. And when these allegations were launched, it caused a shitstorm on the internet. Obviously, you had people churn out memes and related content regarding the situation, which no matter how dire the accusations, and no matter how up it is, someone is always going to make a JPEG image with impact font referring to the situation. It's just how the internet works. But the most popular one was people putting the elephant under his latest content before he later responded saying, "Please address me." It also led to some to speculate things about Tom prior to his eventual response, and some would claim a big sweep was happening because not a lot of commentary creators were covering this. I think even Mizkif had a field day with this, because Turkey Tom had previously done a video about his allegations.
God. This is the guy that attacked me. He's a guy that has worse allegations than me. This guy has way, like, he hits women apparently, allegedly. He records their sexual encounters. He's bisexual, which is disgusting. This guy's a monster.
You know, I know we all made jokes towards Mizkif about his demon time, I think even I made a joke about it, but credit where credit is due, he has been going pretty demon time recently. But in the conclusion of these events and allegations, it led to somewhat of a show. The victims were apparently pointing the finger at each other, personal information that nobody needed to know was shown to the public. I think even certain parties were doxxed in the process. There was a Code Geass like plot reversal, and the phrase "big white cock" was repeated multiple times. But before we get into the allegations and the later response, we need to do the usual thing we do here, even though you may already know this, but who is Turkey Tom?
The Thai lady nipple twisting allegations also need to be taken into consideration.
So Turkey Thomas was born August 16th, 2002 in Maine, USA. For some reason before this, I thought he was Canadian. I was fortunately wrong, thank God. But from the outside, it seemed Tom Turkey from an early age was very much infatuated with the internet and YouTube, with the Turkey Tom channel, the one he uses to this day, being created in July 2015 when he was just 13 years old. The name Turkey Tom apparently came from when he was at summer camp and he bought a turkey sandwich, and upon notifying his counselor about this, they said, "A turkey sandwich for Turkey Tom." You know, not a bad origin story for your name, not like Batman levels, but some people have had a bit of a problem with his name throughout the years.
And why is your name Turkey Tom, but you're not a turkey? Alright, if you really want to pull this off and brand it right, you'd be a fucking Turkey.
But despite a lot of his really early content being removed from his channel, you can see teenage Tom had a vastly different content style in those existing earlier uploads compared to the content he would later make, where his newer content is formatted more in a documentary style, and the average length is an hour fucking long, or the size of all the Star Wars prequels combined. But around his start, his videos were more focused on his opinion and the problems with certain topics, with most being about movies, TV shows, platforms, and eventually other YouTubers like people in the art commentary community.
Now, I will say that, embarrassingly, Jaden Animations is kind of my YouTube crush. Of course, she's way out of my league, and I'm not talking about the real her, I'm talking about her cartoon character.
And if you couldn't tell, as I said, these videos were very different to what he usually posts now, as they were actually animated.
So, today I'm gonna make a video about Minecraft.
Yes, he used to animate a lot of his earlier videos and heavily feature the character or persona he created, which nowadays he does occasionally use. It pops up on the screen here and there, but he's more replaced it for talking with his own face visible. He also made more jokes, talked more about himself, and was a lot more critical in these videos, which once again, compared to his latest videos, he does still make jokes, but the videos are more dedicated to the topic and showing the facts, both in a more unbiased way. His content around that time was commonly compared to other channels like I Hate Everything, and even later on Leafy Is Here, who he does say inspired him a bit.
But quickly forgot about it after watching a few videos and went back to watching Leafy Is Here videos on repeat for hours on end.
He would slowly grow, eventually reaching 10,000 subscribers in February of 2018, and his video quality would evolve and step up quite a bit, even if he wasn't uploading as frequently. Usually it was a video every 2 weeks or even once a month. But it was also around this time in late 2018 he had one of his first popular videos and also his first controversy, as in his video about certain animation channels which hit over 1 million views and also used a title which he uses to this day, Criticism Not Welcome. The video was basically him critiquing animators, and this would spark a reaction from said animators mentioned to the communities that surrounded them. Some took the criticism on board, mainly the animators, and some thought he was going too far or the tone of the video was too aggressive, with some bringing up comments made within the video to tweets he had previously made about one of the animators, which was him saying they looked like the Michelin Man, and got blocked, which he does mention in the video but doesn't provide the context of why he got blocked. On top of the comment that, like the title of the video, he also couldn't take criticism. But from this he received both advantages and disadvantages. He got a lot more subscribers and attention from this, but it came with the trade-off of also receiving a wave of hate for what he said about certain animators. Going past this, he would continue to gather more and more attention, eventually receiving over 100,000 subscribers in early 2019, and his video quality did step up once again. He did at this point completely stop animating his videos, and he was leaning more into the documentary style, but he still wasn't uploading as often, which is something he would improve upon going into 2020, as he would start uploading a lot more compared to previous years, and he once again had some very popular videos. But also in 2020 he would get into another controversy, with it this time surrounding the pyrocynical grooming allegations. Tom, surrounding the drop of these allegations, would do multiple videos covering the situation and the updates to the story, and it was said that initially a lot of these videos regarding the situation were perceived quite well, until Pyrocynical responded with his side of the story, denying the claims, and he also criticised Turkey Tom and other creators regarding their coverage of the situation. Ultimately, the outcome of this was Pyrocynical being able to come back to his platform and Turkey Tom making a response video to his response video, where he defended his coverage and things like the document he produced, but it was not very well received around that time. However, around the same time he would reach around 200,000 subscribers, but he would also stop uploading for a number of months before eventually returning in March of 2021, coming back with a regular upload schedule and a permanent focus on long-form documentary style content, which he would later perfect. But around 2021, despite doing very well on YouTube, Mr. Turkey had a difficult decision to make, as he was now a college student and he had to choose to either focus entirely on making videos, or to fully commit to college, which his parents wanted him to do, and then have YouTube on the back burner. Tom previously noted at this time he was making a very good chunk of change from these videos and had a much greater interest in this than pursuing college. So Tom obviously chose to make videos of going to college, resulting in him missing multiple classes and finals to put more effort into his videos. And eventually in December of 2021, he would voluntarily drop out of college to the dismay of his parents, and following this Tom would move out of his family home to live on his own. Now, the Turkey had essentially put everything on YouTube, and it was not a bad gamble. He doubled his efforts on YouTube. He began uploading longer, more highly edited videos surrounding a variety of topics. He hired multiple editors to assist in video production, and he saw great results, with almost every video averaging 1 million views no matter what he uploaded. Fast forward to 2023, it didn't stop there. He would reach over 1 million subscribers and even had multiple successful channels like TomDark, an IRL channel, and TomDark Live for his live streams. Some say that TomDark fans are still requesting their father figure to come back with just an ounce of content for their malnourished mouths. He even had a very short music career on his IRL channel. But it's fair to say that throughout the years, Tom had accrued quite a large audience, with many liking his videos to his personality that is more prevalent in his side content, and he still continued to upload consistently, sometimes uploading full documentaries twice a week, and he further improved the quality of his videos, even sometimes traveling to conduct interviews with the people he's talking about. But it's safe to say Tom was doing very well up to this point. Yes, not everyone liked his content, from the existence of past controversies to the very topics of his videos, the people he associated with, claims he's racist and apparently his opinion on cheating. But he won that gamble he made in 2021 and was very much reaping the benefits. However, it recently looked like all of that would be jeopardized with a number of allegations launched against him.
I met him probably December of 2023, and then by January 2024 I was flown out.
So on January 14th, a user going by the name Sacramento89, who had apparently dated Tom for 7 months, took to the website Kiwi Farms to share her experience with Turkey Tom, and this was after they just broke up in January of 2026. Now you may be wondering why Kiwi Farms of all places. Well, in her first message she claims Tom was always looking at this page and would get defensive when she asked why he would frequently visit it. Tom does have quite the past with this page, sometimes using it for research for his videos, and apparently some of the Kiwi Farms users don't like him as much. But putting this into chronological order, in her first message she attaches a picture of the two together, and also includes messages that were exchanged to prove she did have some contact with Tom. She then gets into the main claims against Tom, which starts with Tom talking to multiple e-girls whilst being with her, suggesting he may have cheated, and he got angry when she asked about it. Another is not telling her he does YouTube, kicking holes in a wall because an e-girl he previously was in contact with got hacked, and someone was blackmailing him with his dick pics. Then they talk about how Tom would record their sexual encounters without notifying them, and they apparently know he has done this with other women because he is a serial gooner and has flown out multiple e-girls to sleep with. He apparently had files on his computer called Just In Case to blackmail any of these girls if they were going to go public with this information. And later on they mentioned in an interview with the owner of Kiwi Farms there was potentially sexual assault.
Okay. Did you ever explicitly say no in certain terms, don't do that?
No, because usually it was in the middle of sex and then he would be covering my mouth so I couldn't say no.
Okay. Oh, so he's covering your mouth. Did you ever try to break away from his grip?
Yeah, and he would just pull me harder.
Okay. But then after that, you would complain to friends privately, but you didn't sit them down and say I'm not okay with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
But she finishes off that first message by saying she's doing this to confirm people's suspicion and to warn people in the Texas area about him. And in one of the screenshots she provides, it does look like they did discuss Tom getting his pictures leaked. In another message she claims that there was nothing illegal happening, not that she knows of, but that she is afraid of him releasing the just in case file. She also provides a picture of when they matched on Tinder, which is when they met, and she claims she did not know who he was, but some found it odd she would screenshot something you only get when you first match with somebody. You can't do this again unless you unmatch and then match again, and she claims she did this because he looked rather odd.
Strange, because in your story you said you did not know him before you met up, but you took a picture of the match. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, I took a picture of the match because I could kind of tell there was like something weird about this guy. Like I didn't know if he was famous or whatever, and also I did that to other people as well on Tinder.
She also goes to clarify the abuse, saying that he was very rough during intercourse, in one case apparently till she was bleeding, and there was a text conversation about this, and even got in contact with another girl that faced the same things, who later would join the page, and she provides a picture of the girl with a bruise that apparently Tom was responsible for during intercourse. She then goes on to claim Tom was a porn addict and talks about his sexual performance. Then she would claim that the girl got hacked, where Tom's pictures got leaked from was an age play / Bella Delphine girl, and that apparently when Tom was going to meet her, he got too weirded out and left, which apparently by one of the friends of the girl was false. They stayed in a hotel together as far as they know, and that Tom apparently made weird claims about the girls he was talking to looking very young, which would then turn into claims that Tom himself is into age play, which is people acting significantly younger or older than they actually are, and people in the commentary community saw this as a red flag, as they thought it could mean something else, and he's hypocritical because Tom has been critical of this in the past. At this point, the girl who Sacramento had mentioned with the bruise would make an account called Left for Dead. This is a girl he dated for a few months around the start of 2024, and she corroborated a lot of the claims that Sacramento was saying, like Tom recording without consent, being rough, along with claims that he's sadistic and loves girls with BPD. When asked why she didn't go to the police if this was abuse, she responds by saying the police would not have cared and she doesn't live in the same location and would have to go out of her way to make a report. She also shares a video she recorded of a call where Tom says he likes the idea of so-called night rape, and he likes overpowering her with his size.
I'm a fan of night rape. I like night rape. After a long day at work, a little night.
True.
I'm on top of you, like really put all my weight on you.
True, actually true.
Sometimes you were like, ow, wow.
Okay, yeah, you're too strong sometimes. My little noodle arms, I thought my arms were gonna break at one point.
They also make a strange claim that his roommate, who recently was in intensive care and almost died, was like this due to drugs like whippets or nitrous oxide. They also show pictures and messages to show they did have contact with Tom. But to summarize, Tom was basically accused of recording people doing explicit activities without consent, abuse, potential SA, age play, cheating, and being a bad boyfriend. But I will say at this point some were skeptical because they didn't strictly clarify if they ever communicated to Tom they didn't like the things he was doing, especially being rough, or why, if they felt this way and all these things were happening, did they keep visiting him and keep in the relationship for so long. And some would say it's still he said, she said, or hearsay with a lot of these claims. But those were the main things people were skeptical about regarding this. The allegations against Tom did eventually reach the wider internet, and people began covering the situation on top of looking to Tom himself and people he was associated with for some sort of rebuttal or response to these claims, but nothing would be said for at least 2 more weeks. And within said time, a lot happened. As I said before, the supposed victims jumped on an interview with the owner of Kiwi Farms, clarifying some of their claims, and that they are worried he still has access to those videos of them and what he will do with them.
You just want to try to compel him to delete whatever he has on you, and that's like the the extent of your interest.
Yeah, and if he doesn't, I don't know. I'm kind of confused about what to do, but we'll see.
Another girl came forward basically just saying she had a short relationship with Tom on Twitter. and she made some claims not really adding much to the allegations the others levied, and after this she would just end up deleting her Twitter account. She did try and get in contact with the other victims, but said victims claimed she was just clout chasing and had nothing to add to the situation, and then they proceeded to apparently dox her, posting the uncensored pictures of her face that in her original post she went out of her way to censor, but now they just showed her real face to everyone and also her social media page. They even apparently tried to get in contact with and allegedly dox one of Turkey Tom's friends' mutuals because they attended VidCon with Tom and they thought they supposedly had a story to tell about him. But admittedly there was no receipts posted with this claim. Some did go back and try to bring up another person from 2023 who claimed Tom talked to them when they were a minor, but one, they clarified they never told Tom they were a minor, and two, the conversation was very short and nothing happened from my understanding. Another ex did come out with their own document describing their experience with Tom, saying the relationship was mutually toxic, they both cheated on each other, Tom did record things but it was with explicit consent, he did romanticize power dynamics like sub and dom but never anything related to age, and she even says it seems like the info being dumped online is more to humiliate Tom more than anything. The document is basically a defense of Tom's character more than anything from someone that dated Tom for 3 years. But yeah, a lot did happen in this 2-week time frame. The supposed victims continued to add things on Kiwi farms, but then on the 2nd of February, Turkey Tom finally broke his silence, and he brought receipts.
Just super callous freak who's brutally jackhammering her vagina like Steve mining diamonds.
So at the start of Tom's response, he starts off by saying all of these allegations are false.
Recently, I've been accused by an ex-girlfriend, along with an ex-partner, of non-consensually filming sexual encounters, being so rough and inconsiderate during sexual encounters that it bordered on assault, encouraging eating disorders, being into age play, along with a litany of other completely baseless, false accusations.
He then addresses the claims his ex Sacramento made by bringing all of the text messages that were exchanged between them, first tackling the allegation of him recording without consent by saying he never recorded without explicit consent and it was in fact Sacramento that wanted him to record, even wanting him to get Google glasses so they could record him cracking hair, of which Tom seemingly ignores it. They really wanted an MW2-like kill cam for that shit.
This is blatantly untrue. I have never recorded any sexual encounter without explicit consent. As a matter of fact, with Rowan, she was the one who initiated the idea of filming sex acts in the first place.
He then goes on to show screenshots where she is requesting him to record or to send her the videos that already exist, and implying she was involved and happy for these recordings to take place if they did. He then goes on to tackle the claim he was going to blackmail her with these videos and basically says there's no evidence he would do this, and she is in fact the one that has been sharing a censored frame of one of said videos with the owner of Kiwi Farms.
Now, there's an implication she makes a few different times that I'm basically blackmailing her with these videos. Point anywhere did Rowan provide any proof of me threatening to release these videos of us having sex, or threatening to send them anywhere, so she has no reason to believe that I would ever release them. The only person who has ever sent an image of us having sex to anyone is, ironically, Rowan. Days after I broke up with her, she, without my consent, sent the only image she has of us having sex to the owner of Kiwi Farms. Here, listen to him describe it.
Oh, and one other thing, I forgot about this, but you actually, Sacramento had sent me a picture that was like censored. Apparently the only picture that he would send you is one where his face isn't clearly visible in it.
Do you ever go back and watch our videos? And I reply, yes, I do sometimes, actually. Rowan responds that she's thinking about that right now, and then says, quote, need that big white cock. It's also kind of strange to me that at the time she referred to them as our videos, but in the present she's claiming she doesn't even want them to exist. Rowan personally posted dozens of screenshots of our texts, and not a single one shows her bringing up any of the videos being non-consensual. Another interesting fact is that during our breakup, she texted me a pros and cons list, which she apparently had written about me on January 4th of 2026. And in the cons section, she complains about a lot of things, but she doesn't mention non-consensual videos whatsoever.
He then goes on to tackle the claim of abuse during intercourse and being very rough to the point where sometimes she would bleed, and he explains that Sacramento apparently liked the videos, was very interested in Tom being rough, and that sometimes the bleeding was due to her being on her period, and he shows more context to the screenshot she provided.
Yeah, she's trying to paint that in the relationship, I was constantly pushing this rough, violative sex onto her, and even though she didn't like it and was being abused, she stayed with me. I've seen some people question her saying things like, well, if you hated it, why didn't you just leave? But realistically, sometimes people do stay with abusive partners, and I don't want to invalidate their stories through my response. The real reason that she didn't leave is because she loved having sex with me, and throughout our entire relationship was constantly begging me to validate her fantasies. In fact, anytime I wanted to have more loving, slow, I guess sensual intercourse with Rowan in the bedroom, she actually had a problem with that. I remember one specific instance where I was being more slow and sensual, and I remember her whispering in my ear saying, I want you to pound me. Every opportunity, this girl is publicly saying, oh my god, look at all this horrible shit he did to me. And then she's texting me that she wants me to kidnap her, tie her up, and pound her in the woods. And if anyone is putting up any resistance to that, it's me.
He then goes through more text messages proving his point that everything was consensual, and he says that most times she was the one requesting it, which results in the phrase big white cock being mentioned more than Jesus in the Bible. He also says he did tell her he was a selfish lover, which she was fine with. He provides evidence towards a claim that he was supporting her eating disorder, which he was not doing, and shows a message where she says her life has improved since Tom was involved. Next, he gets into the age play accusations by saying he was never into it, and a lot of his exes he contacted all said he was not into age play.
The other allegations that Rowan has levied towards me is that I'm into age play. She's not alleging that I did it with her, she's alleging that I did it with another girl named Ellie, who I briefly talked to 2 years ago. Now, there's no proof whatsoever that I did anything close to age play, but I did text her about these allegations, and she clearly states that I've never done age play. An ex-girlfriend of mine named Kai, who I dated for 3 years, also publicly posted on Twitter saying that I never abused her and that we never did anything related to age play.
He then talks about how Sacramento lied, saying she never knew Tom was a YouTuber by bringing up messages before they matched on Tinder of her trying to contact him with video ideas.
She's also stated repeatedly that she's not a very online person multiple times throughout her testimony. But the wild thing about this is Rowan had sent me a message on my YouTube connected Instagram all the way back on February 21st of 2024, 15 months before matching me on Tinder. I even confronted her about this when we first hung out because I found it very strange that she lied to my face when she first met me and said she didn't know who I was. I said, hey, I looked at our messages on Instagram and saw you DM me over a year ago. Rowan said, oops, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't want to tell you, but I watched one of your vids a while ago and thought you were cute, but I thought it would be awkward.
So Tom addresses a majority of the allegations as false, and that even at times Sacramento was blatantly lying, but it begs the question, why would Sacramento go through the effort of all of this when there were messages both of them had access to proving Tom's innocence? Did she not think he had the ability to show his side of the messages? Well, that sort of gets answered in the next part, where Tom addresses the end of their relationship and that Sacramento wanted to make his life as hard as possible.
Immediately after I told Rowan that I wanted to break up with her, she began threatening to post about me online and even began attempting to blackmail me into having sex with her again. We'll break up.
No, you won't, because I'm gonna make it hard for you to ever be in a relationship.
Why?
Because you don't deserve one.
Why?
Because you're a piece of shit.
Why?
Because our whole relationship, you act like everything is all about you the whole time. You don't give a fuck. You're just an awful guy, and I'm so sorry that your mom raised you. She seemed like a nice lady, but clearly she did something very wrong.
Okay, Rowan, I just want to move on and have my life, and you'll move on and have your life. And we can be in our own corners. We don't have to do damage to each other. We don't have to cause each other any more anguish, okay?
I just want to see you again, though. Do you think we'll ever be able to see each other?
After the way these conversations have gone today, I really don't think so.
Why?
Because you're, threatening to blackmail me.
I'm not. Well, if you don't come see me, then I will.
Yeah, there's not much to say to that. But then for the last 6 minutes of the video, he goes on to address the other girl, Left 4 Dead, who launched almost the same accusations against Tom. This was the girl Sacramento got in contact with and basically directed her to Kiwi Farms. And he does the same thing again, shows screenshots of the first time they met where she liked the experience and wanted to see him again, and sends him explicit pictures multiple times, which Tom points out doesn't make sense if he is recording them without consent and they hate it.
Once again, this is kind of a weird thing to send to somebody that you're claiming is recording sex with you without your consent. Why would you send this person nudes?
She expresses how much she misses him, even eventually that she can so-called take a beating, and other messages where she expresses interest in things being rough. And then through their second encounter, she also expresses the same feelings, even though she claimed before, after the second trip, she wanted nothing to do with him.
Keep in mind, Katie, in her own words, said that this second time visiting me was the worst experience of her entire life.
How long did you say?
Horrible. That was the worst experience of my life, I think.
She basically describes being physically abused in the interview. She even says that while we were having sex, she would ask me to stop doing something, and I wouldn't. But that did not happen.
And by the end of it, Tom says she wasn't entirely truthful about how their interaction ended because he was clear about the relationship and how he thinks he would be a bad boyfriend. She tries to arrange another time to visit, but it never happens, and he stops really interacting with her, but she persists.
So ask yourself, do these texts sound like a girl texting a guy that she finds evil and sadistic, a guy that she was even debating going to the police about? Because to me, it seems crystal clear that she enjoyed our time together and even wanted to hang out a third time.
He finishes off by adding a screenshot of when Sacramento found out about Left 4 Dead, and she starts talking about her, which is ironic since they both started working together to allege Tom had done all of these things. But with this response, the common consensus was Tom had beat the allegations. He addressed most of the damning things alleged against him and even went back to making videos to the delight of his fans. However, some did have a problem with his videos. Some saw it as him doxing people like Sacramento with just the mention of her first name. She even later goes back to Kiwi Farms to talk about this. Some made the argument that, she alleged all these terrible things against Tom, a public figure putting his career and future relationships on the line, and that's karma. But all of that went out of the window when Tom's roommate, who she alleged did drugs, posted her LinkedIn profile showing her full name, face, and where she goes to school, with their reasoning being they deserved this for everything they said about Tom, alleging he was a sexual predator, things about his own family, and the drug thing. In regards to the response from the girls, Left 4 Dead sees the video was uploaded before her flight and says she would respond after her flight had landed, which took 3 days apparently. She starts by saying she didn't know how much Sacramento lied about her story, and she never got the full context to most of the messages between her and Tom, and that ultimately she feels lied to and doesn't trust her. She says Tom lied about the unsolicited pictures because he asked for them, and that regarding the recording she didn't comment on that in the messages because she thought it was normal for men to record without consent, and later on she realised she was a victim. Also that his timeline he presents is wrong, and the messages he showed regarding a third meetup were the messages sent before they met for the second meetup where she had a terrible time and there was no third meetup. Her trying to keep contact was something she always does. She always replies to people's stories, and she finishes off by saying he doesn't address some comments he made in the video and the bruise on her face, and apologizes for being complicit with the lies of Sacramento. She does continue to post reiterating Tom is lying and not addressing things before her last message, which is once again saying she shouldn't have trusted Sacramento. However, in regards to Sacramento herself, she first thanks Tom for doxing her, asks why he didn't mention messaging minors, which I talked about earlier, and that she only asked him to record once. They continue to reiterate the same things Left 4 Dead said, that he missed out a lot of things, he's lying, and didn't mention other allegations, but the main thing people seem to focus on was her saying she overblew certain things, and she gave in and told him she liked the things that he was doing to her, and that she didn't lie about his roommate doing drugs, but that a response is coming soon to his video. And her last message is her complaining that she cannot access DMs from Tom before June.
Associated with a lot of racists like myself. I mean, when the clan meetings happen, we are present.
So in conclusion, things were alleged against Turkey Tom involving multiple women and accusations. The internet went wild with this, a lot of people initially condemning him or saying he's cooked. He gave it 2 weeks and came back with quite a good response, pointing out the holes in the allegations, and it looks like he has beat said allegations at the cost of all of his sexual and personal life being exposed to the internet. I don't know if there will be another response from Sacramento or Left 4 Dead, because it seems like Left 4 Dead is done with Sacramento, but for now Tom has returned to content creation and received quite a warm welcome, to say the least, and that is it. I'm gonna go watch Instagram Reels now and get spammed with slurs, and yeah, that's all I had to say, and bye bye.